I've seen tyranny of every kind. I've seen torture, widespread murder and abuse, stood in mass graves. My eyes have seen a lot. And what I see now here in the continental United States is as bad, if not worse, than what I've seen elsewhere in conflict zones and war zones. The manner of abuse against our children by child sex trafficking is unthinkable, and it's not okay.
What people need to know, first and foremost, regarding trafficking is that it is real.
Everybody has access to your kids like they've never had access to your kids before.
Last week, NCMEC received 131,487 incidents of child pornography, 6 child sex tourism, and 164 child sex trafficking. They worked a total of 132,034 cases last week.
What Vets for Child Rescue does to take predators off the streets is we run sting operations. We do it jointly with law enforcement. We run the sting, we bring them to law enforcement, and then hand that incriminated predator directly to law enforcement on location.
People just need to be convinced that it's real. From then on, I think they will tap into who they are as Americans, and they will rise up, and they will then create this movement.
I've deployed elsewhere to fulfill my oath to protect Americans, and now I'm deploying with Vets for Child Rescue here to the United States to defend our children. That's what matters to me. That's what calls to me. And if people want to say nice things and use the word hero or heroic for us standing up for the children, I say we can all be heroes, can we not? We can all do something. We can all link arms and stand up against this. Here's an opportunity to take a step forward and stand up to be counted and say this is not okay with me. I'm going to do what I can. And together we are what we can't be alone. We can make a big tidal wave of positive correction for these kids. We can beat this back. We can.
To introduce this wonderful gentleman here. Of course, we're privileged to have Mr. Craig Sawyer with us. Can you hear me?
No.
We're privileged to have Mr. Craig Sawyer with us.
The mic.
We're privileged to have Mr. Craig Sawyer with us. Can you guys hear me?
No.
It's all right. I want to read this bio, Craig, okay? Because we need to really know the kind of person we have with us. And as he's calling us in the film today, how we can, and the whole purpose of this really is how we can step up and be responsible as such and take responsibility. That's what this is all about. That's what the Freedom Festival is all about, is it not? So Craig Sawyer, also known as Sawman, grew up near Houston, Texas, got his tactical start in the U.S. Marine Corps. He quickly transitioned to the U.S. Navy to pursue high-level special operations as a U.S. Navy SEAL. As an operator at SEAL Team 1, Craig gained critical combat experience in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, resulting in decoration for heroic service. After returning from Desert Storm, Craig served as a SEAL, sniper instructor, until being promoted to Dev Group. While serving at SEAL Team 1, Craig fought in various martial arts tournaments in Southeast Asia, as well as SCARS, Special Combat Aggressive Reaction System, hand-to-hand training under Jerry Peterson and Lou Hicks. These experiences built upon his martial arts history of fighting various tournaments such as the Karate Olympics tournaments in Houston, Texas, and 1 year of formal boxing under Henry and Jim Harris. After serving in the Navy, Craig signed on as one of the original 33 Federal Air Marshals who were in place prior to the 9/11 attacks against the U.S. Craig remained there for 5 years, reaching the management rank of J Pay Band, ATSAC GS-14. At that point, Craig began contracting in the various combat zones, running tactical teams and protecting high-level U.S. dignitaries. In 2004-2005, Craig was selected to serve as agent in charge of high-threat mobile security operations in war zones for the U.S. Department of State, responsible for the mobile teams covering all stationed and visiting U.S. Chief of Mission personnel in the region. Craig still remains operationally active in multiple roles. In addition, he often instructs various advanced training courses under his tactical insider banner. In the entertainment industry, Craig has made a name for himself in the following: most frequent expert on all 5 seasons of History Channel's Top Shot, virtually every major television news station and morning talk show, including The Today Show, Fox and Friends, Morning Joe, CBS Evening News, Fox News, The Dylan Radigan Show, etc. Team leader and voice for Animal Planet's Battleground, Rhino Wars, Military Channel's Deadliest Tech Special Ops, History Channel's Sniper, Deadliest Missions, History Channel's H2 Top Guns. Craig co-starred in a new movie for 2016, Army Dog, with Casper Van Dien. There are 2 new feature films going into production with Craig as Tech Advisor, is it Tech or Tech Advisor? Tech Advisor. Co-producer, the misspelling here, Craig. Co-producer and or actor. Craig co-starred with Arlie Ermey on Gunny Time for 3 seasons until Gunny's passing. Nonprofit, Craig launched Veterans for Child Rescue in April 2017, which is a task force of senior veterans of the counter-terrorist, intelligence, federal law enforcement, international counter-poaching, and film and television communities who are dedicated to expose and help combat abusive child sex trafficking rings in order to create a brighter future for the children. And that's vetsforchildrenrescue.org. So let us welcome heartily Mr. Craig Sawyer.
Thank you. Very nice introduction. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm a guy who, for whatever reason, is wired to go for my dreams, to get off the sofa and go and take action. And I've done that throughout my lifetime. I had an exceptional upbringing. My fatherhood, or my father was an exceptional man. He was a pastor and sincere spiritual leader, and I watched him change the lives of countless people. And when I would go off to the SEAL team, I would come home to visit my parents in the Woodlands, Texas. I couldn't take my dad anywhere without people hugging on him and thanking him for all that he did for their families and changed their lives for the better. Sincere, he lived it 24/7. Beautiful exemplar. I'm not him. I'm just a regular guy. But I felt like I had a contribution to make on the counter-terrorist front as a Navy SEAL. And I went and I made war against those that wanted to come here and ruin our peace and freedom. And I felt confident that that was my thing. Like, oh, this is why I was made for this. This is, I'm kind of good at this, And maybe not so much other things. My big brother gives me a lot of grief about, hey, I'm better at you than this. But I found something to contribute. And then later in life, I found something else. And now I found a cause that is very clearly the most important thing that I've ever been a part of. And I see, looking at the screen, these, just so that there's no confusion, these are life slides. These are slides of things that I've been a part of throughout my life. Random order, just to kind of provide a visual of some of the things that I'm talking about. So if you see older young people, they're probably my family. Or you see guys in tactical kit, they're teammates of mine at one time or another. And you'll see me on TV set or whatever. So that's why those are there. But in going through life and taking action and going for what it is that I believe I should do, I've learned a lot of things. And that's what I'm here to share with you humbly. I don't claim to be any smarter or better than anybody else. I've lived a lot of lives in one. I feel like I've worn a dozen hats already, and I've gained a lot of experience. And I've learned some things the hard way. You know, I like to think myself smart, you know. Well, I want to figure we're pretty clever, right? So I learn as quickly as I can. Some of the things I feel like God sent me back to the starting line to do multiple laps on. No, son, try again. Eventually, even I can figure it out, right? So I offer these lessons humbly. But some of the things I'm going to talk about are life. Why does it matter who we are and what we do? Why are we here? What does our individual lives count for? Why are we on this planet? And for what purpose are we even here? Why are we going to bother getting up off the sofa to do anything? Or are we? And do we have value? Do we have a purpose here? So I want to tell you the story about my daughter and getting started with all of this. So that's kind of where we're going. Kind of the meaning of life, or not the meaning of life spiritually so much, as but what are we going to do with our time here? Okay? So my daughter, 2.5 years ago, was abducted at knife point down by the University of Arizona. She had just turned 18, and she was brutally sexually assaulted for hours, most of the night. And she figured out how to escape this guy. And what she ended up doing was talking her way. She's a very intelligent young lady and very strong internally. She told this predator whatever sick things he needed to hear. So he would let her go, so she could go home. And I woke up with my wife crying, saying, "Oh my God, Craig, it's happened. She's been raped." And of course, as a warrior, I'm waking up. I'm ready to destroy planet Earth. Where are they? Who? What happened? And she says, "There's my baby girl. It's time for me to go off now." Anyway, we got her home. We got her to the hospital. On the way, you know, of course, she was devastated. She was screaming. She was hysterical. We let her know, "Hey, baby, there's 2 ways that we can handle this. We can incubate you from this whole aftermath, and we can shelter you from it and love you and let you heal and go on with life, or you can fight back and go after this guy." I'm kind of proud to tell you there was no hesitation. Our baby girl said, "Up his, I'm going after him." Even in her trauma, she's like, "He's got to go down. He can't be allowed to do this anymore." Secretly, it's like, right on. You know, but outwardly, I'm like, "Okay, sweet pea, whatever you want to do." But she had that inclination in her. So 2.5 years went by before we were able to finally put him away. And it was in late July, so they convicted him on all 7 counts, put him away for 68 years. So he'll never get out. He was 34 years old. And, pardon me, it's still raw whenever I talk about it. But she got to see that fighting back worked, that the system could work for her if she asserted herself and handled it effectively. And so one of the things in the 2.5 years that she was waiting for her trial, her counselor, my own wife, some of our team members, and my daughter herself all told me, "Hey, Craig, you should let Aspen serve as one of your junior decoy agents in one of your sting operations so that she can have a chance to fight back. That would be really healing for her." And I was like, "Okay, I understand that concept. I get it, but no." Because she's my precious little baby girl. She's not going anywhere near these creepers. We wear body armor, and we don't know who these guys are, and it's just scary, and she's not going anywhere near harm's way. And my little baby girl, this tall, she'll probably only ever be this tall. She looks straight through me like only she can. She says, "Papa, I want to do this with or without you." At which point, I thought, she means it, and I know she means it. I raised her. She's just a little ball of fire. God bless her. And I decided, okay, if you're going to do this, you're not doing it without me. I'm going to be right there to make sure you're okay. So if you're doing it, you're doing it under Papa's wing. So we did. She helped put away 9 child predators. Yeah. Really cool. So you're gonna be able to see her do her thing in Contraland, our documentary. It's being finished on December 1st, and then we hope to bring it to market as soon as we can get distribution after that. That story's been a whole nother journey and set of obstacles. Look, folks, you can't do anything good without evil attacking you. Man, and I knew this was going to be ugly. I just didn't know which flavor of ugly, but I had faith, and I was like, yes, Lord, I'm gonna combat this child trafficking thing. Because it was a friend of mine from the CIA. He grew up just down the road from me, and he's let me know, Craig, this part of Texas, Montgomery County, just north of Houston, is about the biggest epicenter of child trafficking in the continental United States. And I thought, wow, this is the epicenter. You know, wherever we grow up is the epicenter of America, right? Wherever your hometown is, it's downtown USA. I took offense to that. I'm like, how dare they bring that here? I grew up thinking I was going to fight off the communists or something, not child predators. And I'm like, you don't bring that evil here. And I got really heartbroken, and when he was telling me that they were keeping children in cages, dog kennels, and all the things that they do, abusive, evil people. And I just knew that I had to fight back. And I realized that the best way that I could fight back was really to expose it, because I went around rattling all my friends and family, say, hey, this is a horrible thing, here's what's happening. They were all shocked and horrified, they didn't know. I'm like, okay, I get it. As a covert operator, counter-terrorist operator, we did everything, and in the intelligence community, we did everything covertly. It's quiet. You work in and out of safe houses, everything's low pro, you blend in, nobody knows who you are. You go, you learn information, and you hand the enemy's backside to them with that information, right? But that covert realm is something that I understand. So I realized, wow, the child traffickers and the predators are enjoying this covert veil of secrecy, and they're doing whatever they want right under our noses, and our children are being preyed upon like nobody would believe. And I have to compromise their operation. I have to rip the lid off of it, shine the light on it so that it can be exposed, combated, and ultimately healed, so that they're not preying on our children anymore, because it shatters the minds of the kids. So in fighting this plague against our children, I realized, okay, here's a new mission that fell in my lap and broke my heart and ticked me off to the degree that I could not look away. And I think evil prevails when we look away as decent people. It's our nature, it's abhorrent. I don't want to deal with this. Personally, I'll tell you, I don't want to deal with child trafficking. It's despicable. I would rather spend my time and energy and thinking on anything else. I'm a recreational minded guy. I would like to go play on the beach, ride dirt bikes, and things that I like to do. I don't want to deal with this. It's despicable, but I can't look away knowing that it's happening. If someone was raping a small boy right there, I wouldn't walk by and pretend like I don't know. I would go stop it, right? If somebody's in harm's way, I'm wired to go help them. And am I standing in front of this thing? Well, that's my beautiful wife, Tracy. She's my big boss. So in doing all this, I realized, man, here's a big mission. And although you cannot advance good in this world without evil attacking you, and I'm learning, we're all, our family and our team are learning that this is a spiritual battle, more tangible than anything we would have ever believed. It wasn't until we got into it that we started to see the manifestation of all this nasty attack from people that you may not expect, but evil can kind of come through any person, really. And we started realizing, wow, this is really creepy, this is really bad, and there's just people that you may not expect that are going to try to stop you from doing good. And at first we were perplexed, and then we realized, man, this is evil, and it's going to attack us the whole time. So we pray a lot now, and we move forward every day. Okay, this is ugly, and let's continue to go. So you have to be willing to do that. And it's a different type of combat. I'm learning a different type of combat here. But it's a spiritual warfare. And it's not that I'm some spiritual leader like my father was. I'm just a regular guy, but I'm willing to carry the ball. So I'm figuring it out, right? I'm like, okay, is this what it's about? Okay, let's go. So that is as ugly as the fight is. My wife and I and our kids, we find that we feel very happy. Oddly, in the turmoil and the nasty attacks and the bitterness that's coming against us, we have an odd sense of satisfaction and peace that we're doing right. And there's some things you can't buy in this world. And that's been a lesson for us to learn. I want to share that with everybody. We figured that out just by living it. We're like, wow, we've had this strange peace. And it feels right. It feels good. And we'll never stop. And I would like for everybody out there to know that, because it's powerful. It's like, wow, man, this should be really, really terrible. Man, they're coming at us with all these accusations. They're calling us everything that we despise most. They're calling me like a satanic pedophile protector, that I work for Hillary, and that I'm a CIA mind control wizard, and all these horrible things that are completely false. But they know that if they say it enough, just like the mainstream news media, a percentage of people will believe it and then withdraw their support. So that's all they're hoping to do, is withdraw pull some of our support away to slow our mission down. But it won't be stopped. It can't be stopped. It's not our mission. We're just soldiers, really. We're just foot soldiers, willing to help. So we feel happy, and we feel like we have value because of that, and we feel like we have a purpose. And so that's kind of, we found it, that way. So everybody wants to be respected. I talk to people all the time that are down, that are having horrible lives, and they're like, nobody respects me. And I try to talk to them about, what are you doing with your life? Are you behaving in a way that would cause people to respect you? You can be a gangbanger, you can be a crook, you can be a predator, you can be a thief, you can be a crooked politician, you can go and do whatever you want, take the easy path. People aren't going to feel respect for you because what you're doing doesn't provoke, it doesn't earn respect. It's not, you can't buy it, right? So we got to consider, what is it that we're going to do? What does respect require? Does my life matter? And we first, I find, have to figure out who we are and what our life is about through whatever means. And I encourage people of all backgrounds to research the wisest knowledge available. A lot of people like to look at different philosophers and so forth, but the smartest men that I know were some of my father's friends from different intelligence agencies, and preachers and pastors from around the world, race car drivers, and the very smartest ones said, Craig, study the Bible. There's more wisdom there than anywhere you'll find. It's all there. And so I've taken to telling my son, I'm like, son, he was reading a book about UFOs. I said, if there was a book of knowledge, extraterrestrial knowledge, that was superior to ours, if you had access to that, and it was full of secrets, so higher knowledge, not human knowledge, superior, would you consume that? It's like, oh yeah, Bible. Boom, there's your Bible. That's what it is, isn't it? It's not little gray men. It's the creator of the universe inspired man to stroke those very words. I believe it's divinely inspired, and that's what we're to follow. And the people that I know that have it right, that have the greatest positive impact, that feel the best, they follow that knowledge. So that's what we've taken to do it more and more and more. Still, we're not perfect. We're just a regular family. We've got Lord knows we've got our issues, and but that's really helping us. So if you find something that works, something that's healthy, you want to share it with people that you care about, right? So I'd like to share that more now. So we got to ID our own personal character and integrity rating. What I mean by character and integrity rating, I mean a scale from 1 to 10. Each of us can imagine a 1 to 10 scale. What do you want your integrity rating to be? I'm lazy. I'm going to take the easy route. I'm going to go a 1 or 2. I'll steal. I'll cheat. I'll lay around. 1 or 2, I'm comfortable there. Okay, well, that's a conscious decision. But what if you want to ramp it up? You're like, no, I'm comfortable more up here. I don't care if it's more difficult. That's what matters to me. And I'm going to live at that level because I think that's better. We all have that conscious decision that on our table in front of us to make. Scan your analysis and go, okay, who am I? What matters to me? What calls to me? Where do I want to be on that scale from 1 to 10? And I would submit that the higher you are on that scale, the more difficult it'll be, yet the more rewarding and satisfaction, the more satisfactory it'll be. The water bucket has, so you got to figure out what you'll stand for and what it is that you will not tolerate, because there are limits for all of us, right? Sometimes people can get the best of us, and we're like, okay, I'm gonna giving mood today. I'm gonna smile, and someone's yelling at me. And some days you haven't slept well, and you're a little short fused, and you're not gonna tolerate something. Well, morally, and as far as our integrity goes, we have limits as well. We got to decide what those are going to be. Who am I going to be? What are my left and right lateral limits, we would say in the military, on the firing range? You can't shoot past here or there, but you can shoot all you want in here, right? So we can decide that for our moral integrity as well. The water bucket is a vessel. It's a tool. It has value. It's useful at carrying water. But if it's got holes in it, it's got poor integrity. So if I gave you a water bucket with a bunch of holes in it, how much value would you feel for that bucket? Probably not that much, right? You would want a bucket that had absolute integrity, because if you're going to bother using, reaching to it, you want it to be effective. We're that way as people too. We have a decision to make on what our integrity is going to be, and that all boils down to keeping our word. Don't tell somebody you're going to be there if you're not. Don't tell somebody you're going to do something if you're not. Be honest. I will try. I can't make any promises. That's better than, yeah, bro, I'll be there, and you don't show up. Because then your integrity goes. My wife and I have a joke between ourselves. We go like, oh, he's a 20%er. Meaning with us, our private lingo, we can only count on about 20% of what that guy says. So his integrity rating is really low, and we kind of don't care about him so much because he's not useful. We can't rely on him. We would rather have somebody that, man, if he says yes, he means it, and he's going to back it up.
What's Trump?
Yeah, well, that's a matter of personal opinion, but I see him doing what he said. He looks like he's following through with what he promised he would do. And here's another thing, not to get off on a political thing, but there's a lot of rhetoric right now and propaganda, straight out of the Nazi playbook, bashing us from all sides of the media. And they're telling us that words matter more than actions. Isn't that exactly backwards? We all know that actions speak louder than words. But watch him on the TV now. Oh, but how he said it, though. He did a good thing for us all. He made life better for our country in a big way for this one, whatever, imagine the action. He did this great thing. Oh, yeah, but how he said it. We have to get rid of him. So that's my answer to that. His actions back up what he promised he would do and what we elected him to do. So God bless him. And my mom, before she passed away, said, God can use vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor for his glory. And President Trump is not a perfect man. None of us are, but he was the right tool for the job. Our country had several presidencies of people that let us down. And there was, in my opinion, a lack of enforcement of our laws to protect us all. And I think Washington, D.C. grew more and more corrupt. And I think the Washington, D.C. that Donald Trump found himself being elected into was an absolute disaster. We don't need a nice, calm, pretty speaker at that point. We need a wrecking ball. I use the analogy of a house. Kind of taking a left turn here, but I'll address it for a second because I think it pertains. A house, imagine a house that's infested with termites. The wood is not sound. It's dangerous. It's going to fall. What do you need? Do you need a fancy trim carpenter? Does it need paint? Right now, you need a guy, a wrecking crew to come in here and rip out all the non-viable wood and put in strong frame structure to make it a viable structure so it's going to last for years and years to come. And we'll get rid of that termite-infested wood. Take it out. That may not be a pretty looking chore. Right? You may not be dressed in a tuxedo for that kind of work. You may not speak very kindly, but you rip it out, you get it done, you set it up. Maybe the next crew can come in and put in a nice finish work and make it pretty, right? Maybe the next president can be a good fancy speaker, right? We'll take it. It'll be okay by then, hopefully. A lot of the heavy lifting will be done, but right now there's an ugly job. So my mom said, I believe, she's a very spiritual woman in herself. She said, I believe Donald Trump is the man that God chose for the job right now. We pray for him all the time. And I hope you guys are too. It looks like you are based on your responses. So be a man or a woman of your word. It requires a conscious decision and an hourly commitment. Well, Craig, at least tell me a daily commitment. Don't make me commit hourly. No, life happens by the hour, doesn't it? Everything we teach our kids, make wise decisions, make healthy choices. Hourly life can challenge us, can it not? On whether or not we want to do right or do something less than honorable. So hourly commitment, and we can hone ourselves and make ourselves better as we go. Can we not?
Yes.
So that's what I try to do, and that's what I would share with you today too. So you build your integrity and your word. Nobody can build it for you. You have to do it. It's yours, and it's uniquely yours, nobody else's. Only you can build it. You build it by keeping your word over time. You can't build it in a day or a month. It takes years of keeping your word before people are going to go. Every time he says something, he backs it up. And they're intuitively going to give you a high credit rating for that. It's valuable, man. I teach my boy, son, keep your word. Eventually, people are going to count on you. It's going to matter. I tell him all the time, there's people that count on me, that reach to me for some pretty important things. And it feels good. But it's because of things that happened 5, 10, 20 years ago. I saw a man I can count on. So I share that with him, so he's processing it. He's a good boy. So you own it, you live it. It's your integrity. Nobody can take it from you. Only you can tear it down and throw it away. So you can't buy that. I think it's a beautiful thing. And so I would just say, maybe make a mental note of, okay, I have my views about my own personal integrity and my word, but let me walk out of this tent today with a new and fresh, conscious decision of where I'm going to be on that scale. I'm going to own it. I'm going to make it so forever. And I think it'll be priceless for you. You know, what's worth dying for? Does anybody in this tent have anything in this world or anyone that you would give your life for? Quite a few. Okay? I'll bet it's not for this microphone. Or this projector or this extension cord, right? Probably for something you value greatly. And if we watch the Medal of Honor recipients and you read their accounts, you know, I'm blessed to know a few of them from my team and others. Man, they don't give the Medal of Honor out easily because usually the guys get it after they're dead, posthumously. Because essentially to get that, you have to throw your life away to go make something really important happen on the battlefield, usually to save the day for a lot of guys. In a way that kind of most people wouldn't do. And we value that as a society. We hold that up as exemplars. Like, man, we want more of this. So we take a Medal of Honor recipient, whether or not they're perfect people. If they did a fantastic thing that day on the field of battle, we treat them like kings for the rest of their lives. Because we value that action. And we hold that up, and we want more of that. And I think that's something that we can all take as an example of, like, man, there was something that they valued more than their life, and they acted on it. And that's meaningful. We'll contemplate that, what we stand for, then it'll be more clear how we're to act and how we're to behave, what we're to tolerate, and then eventually not tolerate anymore. It's not easy, but it's a more meaningful path. I like to say the best things in life are not things. My kids, never say that around Christmas time to small kids. Bad time for that lesson. But it's true. What is better than things? And I find that my belief is that the things in life that are better than things are relationships. I think our relationship with our Creator should be number one. I think that's where all the best and most powerful things come from.
Yes.
In our family, and then you move the ring out further from there according to what you've got going on. Maybe you've got a fantastic team at work that's just exceptional work environment, and you value that very highly. Absolutely. So you've got these things that you appreciate. You place a value on that of how far you'll go to back them. But it's important to make note of and consider, because it kind of shapes who we are and how we go about our lives. People value us based on our reliability. Can they count on us, or can they count on us when it matters most? What if it's something that you don't care about so much? Oh, my truck's stuck, can you come help me? And maybe you're like, yeah, I got a thing to do, but if you don't go help him, he's going to miss out on something really important. Maybe it's a big deal to him. Well, his value on you is going to be placed on whether or not you're there for him when it really matters most to him. So a lot of it, I tell my kids, the most important thing to learn about being happy in life is to realize at some point it's not all about you. And in this day and age, in this culture, that's not said often. It's all about you, your truth. Love yourself and all of these things. Well, that's fantastic, but what brings the most satisfaction in life? What brings us that feeling of we've really done something good and we've mattered is helping someone else. So when I find them, when they're really beat down and they're demoralized and they're discouraged and they feel like life is going terrible for them and they're consumed in themselves, I like to get them up and go, come on, let's go do something. Don't even tell them where they're going to go. We're going to go help somebody. What? Just get in the truck. Go help somebody tear out their carpet because their husband passed away and there's a house flood or something. Just go give and help and expect nothing in return. Don't accept anything in return. Just do the good thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the action that causes us to feel it and realize, like, man, that was amazingly good. I wasn't thinking about myself all day. I was thinking about someone else, and then, man, that feels good. Surprising to some people, but it's a truth. We're wired that way. It's how I think our psyche is just, we feel better when we're helping someone else, and our own problems kind of start to fade away and not be so all-consuming. Does that make sense? Yes. So there's that as well. What are you passionate about? What's going to be your mission if you haven't been living it already? You may think, well, Craig, I'm just kind of here. I work a job and I do it every day, and I don't really know what it all means. Well, I encourage people to look at yourself and try to make an analysis and think, okay, what do I have that's different than the next guy? What do people say that I'm different? Or how do I feel that I'm different? What contribution do I feel that I can make better than anybody else on this planet? And that way you can kind of start to find your passion or your wiring, if you will. And I think that's a good start. If you're a spiritual person, study and pray. Beg for guidance. But other than that, I'd say try to look at as many professions, read as many books, gain as much knowledge as you can on how things work out there in the world, as much knowledge on why things are and how they work and what's broken and what needs to be fixed as to how you're going to make your contribution, okay? When you find out what your personal skills and attributes are, your strongest attributes, from that will come your life's mission, and from that your purpose. Once you find your purpose, nobody will be able to stop you because you'll feel it. There's a resonance, there's a vibration, there's a frequency that you'll feel like I'm in tune and this is what I'm supposed to do, and it starts working and it starts being blessed and you start feeling it. It may not be perfect, but you're like, okay, I'm onto something now, and it starts to gain momentum the harder you push it. Whereas other things for you just may not work out because maybe it wasn't your perfect thing, you know. I like to say, don't ask for an easy path, but for the strength to conquer the hard one ahead. Life's not easy. Someone here has had the perfect life, right? No challenge. You've never had a rainy day. You've never had a cold meal served or nothing. See, none of us, right? Life's inherently imperfect. We're here to make the best of it. And I think we're in our best, most effective mindset if we realize, okay, it's going to be rough. And I want to be strong enough to overcome it even still. And reach for the strength where you know you can get it. And I'll tell you that all of my best, most proud accomplishments in my life, and there's been quite a few. There's my baby girl. Oh no, that's the other junior decoy age. Here's one of the guys. Oh, that's my baby girl Aspen. She's precious. She just seen another guy get handcuffed. Oh, and by the way, when they would get handcuffed, she would walk right up to them and just look at them and watch them turn from predator into prisoner right before her eyes. And she said, "Papa, that's so good. That was so healing for me, like no counseling could have ever done, I feel." This was the right decision. Was it scary for an operator who's been at 60 countries and worked at the tier 1 counter-terrorist level and used to wear body armor and go and living out of safe houses and do all the dangerous stuff I am with other hardcore pipe-hitting Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 operators or CIA guys? Yeah, that's normal for me. I never had my baby girl with me, my little precious daughter. Like, she doesn't belong here. So it was an adjustment for me. I had to have a lot of faith. I believed before I took her that it was the right thing to do, and it turned out to be the right thing to do. But it was good to see her benefit from it as much as she did. So taking that action against the thing that's haunting you or the thing that's bad is so healing. I find that whenever I'm stressed out, there's a problem that's eating at me. My stress relieves when I begin taking the action that's necessary against it. If I try to put it off, it's going to continue subconsciously eating at me. Sure. And it's terrible, like a monkey, a stress monkey climbing on me, you know, slapping him around the head, you know. But once I know that I'm taking the actions that's needed to fix it, subconsciously my brain relaxes and goes, okay, we're taking action and it's going to get fixed, and everything feels somehow better. And I think that's how stress works for people. So don't hesitate to get out of your comfort zone if it's for something you believe in that you believe is right. We got to realize, you know, I'm sure you've all heard the analogy, if you're going to sail to a new destination, you got to be brave enough to leave the horizon behind. You can't hold on to the shoreline and get to the other side. At some point, you got to just go. And it's in that moment of discomfort, or that journey of discomfort, that we get to the place where we've never gotten before, and we can enjoy the satisfaction of having done that bold and brave and good thing. Okay. So I'm going to wrap this up. In closing, I found the following things to be true pertaining to: are we happy? Do we have value? Do we have purpose? When we're taking the positive action needed, we feel happier. And people find that attractive. Some people say, "Greg, I don't feel like anybody likes me. You know, I don't feel like anybody's attracted to me. And I'm like, well, are you doing anything? What are you doing with your life? You know, it may not be our looks. God knows I'm not a pretty man, but you know, my wife likes me because I do things that matter. You know, and I ask him, what are you doing, man? Try doing something that matters. Follow your passion, and then let the rest sort itself out. People are attracted to people that are content and know that they're doing something that matters. So let that work for you. And then when you keep your word, you're reliable, and people value that. So there's your value. You have value because you've kept your word, and people recognize it. And then when you're boldly carrying out your life's purpose, people will respect that. This is how we are as human beings. So look, folks, I appreciate your attention and your time here. I hope you look for Contraland. I've got some brochures here about our organization and what we do. I invite you to take one and take it, show it to pastors and principals and whomever else around your community. Steer them to our website. We're raising money to finish the final post-editing for our documentary to get it on the air, to get it out to the largest possible audience. So we're a humble nonprofit organization, so we've got to raise the money to pay for the mission and get the documentary out there, but it's going to be very powerful, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you tell all your friends about it.
What's that site?
vetsforchildrescue.org.
How big's the team? How many?
I've got a scale of a couple hundred guys I can reach to if we need to. Mostly we work with private investigators, a couple of security guys, and like 3 or 4 federal and local agencies when we run the stings. So, but if we're working on a heavy cartel-held area, I can bring 20 or 30 guys if I need to. Usually law enforcement handles all that external security.
I just have one more question. It seems like this president has ramped up the attack on pedophiles and sex trafficking 6,000% since he's been in office. And I'm looking from the eyes of a novice. From your perspective, is he all over this?
I believe you're right, yes. He does seem to, he made an announcement very early on that he's against it, and it looks like he is absolutely going after it, as he said. And so, the thing is though, the federal and local law enforcement, they are entirely overwhelmed with all of the other things on their plate. And child trafficking, even still, is a very small area of their responsibility. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise on earth. It's right up there with the narcotics trade already, maybe surpassed it, because it's so quiet we don't know the exact numbers. It's hard for them to track it because it's so despicable, and the crimes would, the penalties would be so heavy if caught, and there's so much money, $150 billion industry annually, that there's a lot of protection, so it's hard to nail down the exact numbers, but it's big. So that we need to increase the legislation for the funding, for the training for law enforcement, and the increased enforcement, so that the local law enforcement are expected, when they make a regular traffic stop and there's children, maybe separate the children from the adults and say, are these your children? What are their birth dates? What are their middle names? And if his partner interviewing the children, are those your parents? Oh, no, sir, or no sabe, or whatever the deal is, and begin, okay, see some red flags, investigate further, safeguard those children, and intervene. So right now they're not trained to do that. And they're telling me, we work with them all the time. So they deserve that, and we as citizens want them armed, or trained and armed with that additional training and knowledge and expectation to safeguard the children on patrol in addition to everything else. Because it's happening right in front of them, they just don't know it. Or they're not tasked with really going after that too. So, but yes, the president does seem to be going on, but it's just, they need so much more help, and we need so much more legislation to address it. So, I would say, folks, make the decision before you leave here, hammer yourself into the person that you want to be, and go to work daily to live your best life, not your easiest one. I think you'll be glad you did. Thank you for your time. God bless. Yes, sir.
Do you have any comment on Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes. It was fantastic to see someone like Epstein get arrested. At the time, I didn't think it would quite happen yet. I didn't think we were there yet politically. Of course, I wanted it to happen long ago, but when they arrested him, I thought, why now? That's fantastic. That's a huge win, because he's not an elite predator in the sense that a lot of the global elite are child predators. He was more of a front man. He was a child predator himself, but he was more of a host to bring the global elite to his properties. He had aircraft, and so he would bring them to his properties to host big parties. Multiple intelligence agencies collecting video on it. It's kind of deep, but he was there as a facilitator. And how many layers and angles to it there are, I'm still kind of learning behind the scenes. But when he went down, I thought, okay, they're going to be able to twist on this guy and bring down everybody that he hosted. Then all of a sudden he disappears out of a prison in New York City, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. Cameras happen to miraculously be broken. Access from the outside, guards are not there, everything's a long list of these things that as a special operator from the covert realm, I'm like, okay, those things don't all happen without some help. Right? So either the dark side has enough power and corruption and access to make that happen, and our president and the white hats are so stupid that they left him there and left him susceptible to that, which I don't believe. Or if you look at the ear canal of the cadaver, Epstein, look at any of the pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's ear canal, and this lobe right here, his has a lazy curve like a kidney bean. Is this working now? Yeah. Okay, like a kidney bean. A very lazy curve. If you look at the cadaver, the pictures they show, these two sections here are very deep like fingers. Completely, radically different shape of the ear canal. I'm like, that's not the same body. The nose on the cadaver is more curved, which is more of a slight, but the ear canal is a radical difference. I'm like, there's no way post-mortem a cadaver is going to change that much with the ear canals. It will radically distort itself and change like that. That's not him. So I believe, and I hope, and I pray that the white hats, the good guys, smuggled that scumbag predator out of there, put him in a black site where they can keep him alive and twist on him and get whatever information out of him on all the other scumbags that they need for years to come. And that he continues to testify and give them information, and they arrest all this entire network of them. I pray that that's the case. It appears to me as though that's the case, but I can't say 100%. I'm just looking at pictures online going, and my spidey senses from having done, some of that type of work. So that's what I believe. And I think more of those people need to go down. I think as we start grabbing those elite that are above the law and holding them to account, and not only prosecuting them and bringing them to justice and punishing them for whatever they've done, like they would you or me, I think they also need to educate the public on it and say, folks, here's what this scumbag was actually doing. Here's how dirty they actually were. Here's how connected they actually were. And here's the influence that they actually had against all of us. Here's how bad it really was, because, again, the populace we really don't know how corrupt things are. And it's gotten very, very bad. So I think the prosecutions need to happen, and then there needs to be like a public education, like almost like every time the president speaks, he needs to have someone that's very attractive and very good speaker stand up and go, okay, quick 5 minutes. Here's what we know now about this big politician that was actually selling us all down the river, and this politician gave our nuclear codes to the Chinese, and blah, 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 blah. And here's all the factual evidence so that people can go, wow, that's a really bad person. They really jerked us around. So, because until that's done, a lot of the population are going to vote for the same corruption.
Candace Owens can do that.
Yeah. So, next.
What would you do on a daily basis to keep the kids from getting abducted?
Okay. There are a lot of ways that predators stalk the children. They used to be the creepy guys at the edge of the playground. Now they're stalking them online. If your children have smart devices, Xbox, computer, laptop, iPad, phone, they don't need to be on at night. There should be no such thing as the concept of privacy for a child and their smart devices, because they can't be safe with that privacy. It's not that we don't love them or respect them, it's that we do. And we realize there's predators out there that the children don't understand. And a lot of the little boys or girls that they think they're talking to on the apps on their phone or on the game are a creepy, full-grown, 40, 50-year-old man that wants to rape them. And we deal with it all the time. I see behind the curtain. It'll make you sick in your stomach to know and see a lot of the conversations that when we catch these guys. So that's one thing. And I love the idea of, if you got several kids, take all their phones at night. Hey, your phones get charged in mommy and papa's master bedroom. Have it tomorrow before you go off. Because you can lock your doors and windows and bolt everything closed, and you double check, and you go to bed and you think your children are safe, but your children are online talking to a predator, and he's trying to get pictures of them, and when sometimes the child will be talked into giving it to him. Maybe it's a young man and he thinks that she's an attractive young lady that's at his school. And she's like, oh, I just want to see this or that. Can you show me a picture? He doesn't know. Maybe he does it. Then the guy goes, hey, got you now, dude. I'm going to post this all over the place, and I'm going to humiliate your family if you don't show me more, or if you don't meet me somewhere. And the next thing you know, your 14-year-old, 13-year-old boy gets thrown in the back of a creepy rape van, and no one's ever going to see or hear from him again. It's that kind of thing. That's what we don't know as a society. That's what we're trying to share with everybody through Vets for Child Rescue. Safeguard the kids, man. They're under attack, and it's big, and it's ugly, and I don't want to demoralize you. I just want you to be aware so we can safeguard them and put a stop to it.
Just a question comes to mind. You're going to leave here, tomorrow, and we're left here in the local level. We had here in Pennsylvania the rape scandal in the Catholic Church, for example, that was quite extensive. What's the optimal thing we can do locally, effectively?
I think we all have to hold our local officials' feet to the fire. We have to be much more assertive, just like our radical adversaries are so assertive in getting what they want, like the crazy ravenous zombies, they're push, and they're getting what they want. And we calm, decent, mild-mannered, hard-working people are doing without. We're losing. We're getting our pants beat off of us by the radical zombies that are fighting and scratching and getting everything that they want. So we have to, in good faith, push back to maintain some decency. So we've got to find quality people, encourage them to run for office, and let them know that they're going to serve our will to safeguard us, or we're going to replace them. I think that's one common and practical thing that we can do, all do. We must. We've gotten away from it, and I think it's hurt us.
I kind of have a two-part question.
I'm sorry, there are no two-part questions. In fact, can you go sit in the chair. One-part question sign right above the door. I'm sorry.
I'm a part-time African missionary, and when I go over there, the only people that are allowed to carry weapons are the military and the police. What can I do to more basically protect myself when I'm over there? Second part being, am I really crazy for taking my kids with me?
Man, I can't claim to have the perfect answer for that. Kids spell love T-I-M-E. If they're not with you, how can you grow together? So that's a difficult one. I missed it. Talking about life lessons and honesty. When I went over to Iraq, I spent the better part of 10 years running high-threat mobile security to provide for my family in good faith, and I was almost getting blown up, and my heart was right. I was doing what I could to provide what they needed, but I realized my children were growing up without me, and I was missing it. And so that's one hard part of the equation. So I would say if it's reasonably safe, I would err on the side of having them with you, because you can mentor them and love them and grow with them if they're with you like you can't if you're separated. Secondly, if you've got people with you, just really try to assess and dig down on the multiple layers of how things really run in that region and who the people around you really are, and where their loyalties really lie. And if there's a bogus checkpoint or something, you guys are pulling out of the car, are these guys going to back you, or are they going to run, are they going to turn on you? You got to know what you're really in. Situational awareness, dig in a lot of intel. Talk to your State Department reps there in that country. Hey, what am I really facing here? What are the dynamics of the crime and the corruption and all of that, so that they can really advise you. And they may not admit it, but they'll have CIA people on hand that know the real deal. And if they're inclined, they'll have on their State Department hat, there's what you should do, but they'll tell you some of that if you can get that level of access.
Okay. Quick follow-up.
Okay, go ahead.
Situational awareness, sorry about that.
It's a good discipline.
So I'm sorry, I apologize. Because I'd like you to elaborate on that about situational awareness, okay? Because as you speak, you're going to leave. There's always this sense of ambiguity.
Situational awareness.
Situational
I
awareness.
teach a class called Hard Target Training, and it's some of what I've learned from protecting people all over the world and keeping them out of orange jumpsuits in war zones. Our State Department and intelligence community personnel, and in fact, John and I worked the same contract. Tegan, you guys all saw the Benghazi movie. This thing cut off again. So I teach people to have their heads up and on scan. Not only study the local intelligence to know what's going on in your area, what are the types of threats wherever I am going to be or wherever I'm living and working, but also have your head up and scan, because working in 60 countries, I can tell you Americans are the most guilty of walking around like this. And there may be every manner of mayhem around them, and they're oblivious. And that's what I started teaching my children. I was like, hey, when you walk across the street to go get on the bus, scan left and right to see if there's a car coming. Because if there's one coming, you're not going to see them if you look at your feet, like the other children are doing. So I came up with this course called Hard Target Training. It's about making the average citizen a harder target for all kinds of predators. And one of the biggest things anybody can do, give your brain's pretty smart, and it'll process something that's a potential threat if you just give it a chance to. And whenever you walk out of this tent, or you walk into a building or into a hallway, just give yourself a scan left and right and look at what's going on around you to give your brain a chance to pick up on, ooh, there's something really sketchy over there. Maybe I need to give further scrutiny and consideration on whether or not I need to move away from here. That's a very simple thing that everyone can do, and I'll help you kind of toss that in your bag of tricks and make yourself learn to do it. It's a learned behavior. You have to discipline yourself at first. Whenever you walk into or out of a building or into any new space, just scan visually and give your brain a chance to pick up on what's going on there. Okay? So that's a good one.
Yeah, you guys have any resources to shut down these drag queen story hours that are happening all across the country that are really sexualizing our kids and setting up the whole stage?
Yeah, we don't have anything going on for that. That's more of a political thing. Of course, the radical left are going to fight you tooth and nail over that, but I think that's already being fought and beaten back in some ways. But that's just us as citizens fighting back and saying we don't want our children treated that way. You know, every form of pervert, no matter what it is, wants to be called wholesome and normal and good, and they want to beat everyone else into submission to calling that perversion wholesome, normal, and good. Whether it's animal sex or whatever people do. They want to be, they want to feel like they're normal and like we condone it, and they want to force us to condone it. And of course, if it's not healthy and it's harmful, we can't condone it. We must not. And being tolerant of something that's harmful is as bad as doing the harm itself. You know, I think. So we don't address that directly, but we as citizens all can and must.
Yeah. Why is Montgomery County, Texas, such a focal point of sex trafficking? I've driven through it, been there. I would never have thought it.
Maybe it's because people would never think, because it's that cowboy culture and that conservative outlook. And but I know they come up through Florida and across to Houston, and they come up through Mexico and around to Houston. And just north of Houston is a little bit more suburban, calm, and nice, affluent area. And I think it's the perfect sleeper area just outside of the city that I think they can stash the kids in these nice houses and fancy neighborhoods and nobody would suspect it. That's just a theory. We haven't operated there yet because, quite frankly, even though I'm from there, we talked to all the law enforcement agencies there, and they all said, we love what you do, but good luck getting past all our lawyers to run the operations here. So, wow. So what we're going to do is run operations all around Houston and the surrounding counties and start racking and stacking the predators and getting Houston to realize, oh man, Sawman's got another 9 over there. He's got another 12 over here. so that hopefully I'm wanting their deputies and their wives to go, hey honey, or hey boss, why aren't you doing more of that here? Like, Someone's killing him. He's serving and protecting the kids better than we are. Why don't we step up? That's what I hope eventually happens. Is just kind of lead by example, lead from the front, go after it, and work all the way around them until eventually they feel pretty inadequate for sitting on the sidelines. So that's all I can do. Just try to be positive. Yes, ma'am.
Is most of your operations just based in Texas?
No, we've operated in 5 countries so far, and from coast to coast, in the United States.
Do you guys do much in Arizona too, with all the cartels there? And all
Yeah, we do a lot on the border, but I've got a big meeting with a lot of law enforcement officials in Arizona. I know Sheriff Lamb. I'm sure you saw pictures of him with me in there, but some of those meetings are coming up. But it's very soft on sex crimes in Arizona, generally speaking. So we're still working on it.
There's a lot of cartel issues, and there's so many people missing in Arizona that half the other people apply to another state. So that's why it's curious.
Yes, ma'am.
I had some advertisement about some gadgets that you put on the children so you know where they are at all times. Do those gadgets help?
She's asking about gadgets that you could put on your child as a tracker. And do they help? Yes, ma'am. I believe in those, and I think they do help. With my child, if I had one when our children were little, I would have one on them. If they went missing, I would want to. They're over there. I want to get them as soon as possible. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for doing what you do. My question is, the kids that you find, would you say it's more so a majority of kids that are brought over illegally and aren't citizens to begin with, or is it just kids that
No.
they can get and find profit in?
What we haven't, I've got a team starting investigations now, but inside the continental United States, the overwhelming majority of the children that are being trafficked and abused seem to be taken from viable families or from harmful families by CPS and put in a foster care system. 2 or 3 pops later, the child goes off the net and nobody even knows where they are, and they're being sold outright like a dog for people to. That's what it seems to be. We're overwhelmed with reports of that, and I want to follow through from our team and verify and start. And if that's the case, it's my passion to change the way Child Protective Services is run, because it's a state-run thing, and I mean to change that if it is as bad as indicated. So, but I can't claim to know for sure yet, because we haven't quite gotten there. Good to meet you in person, by the way. I recognize your face. Yes, sir.
Because of the financial pressure on the other side, is your documentary seeing a lot of pushback?
He asked about pushback about our documentary. Yes, sir. Virtually every crowdfunding platform has jerked us around and tried to block us or rip us off or refuse to run our ads. That's why I had to found a nonprofit organization to begin with. We tried to just do crowdfunding to fund the documentary and then go on without about our lives. Alert the populace, and then they'll demand better enforcement, and we can fix this problem. But I realized big tech, they don't want this story out. They don't want the population to know about child trafficking, how big, how dark it is. There's so much money and so much control from it. And they blackmail each other. Another thing too is that a lot of our politicians have been filmed in back rooms of mansions and islands doing things with underage girls and boys. And that's used as blackmail to cause them to do things against all of us, or otherwise they'll be outed and destroyed.
Lourdes has a question.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with cases here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I run a nonprofit organization, and a few years back, I was told by directors of the Ronald McDonald House that 4 out of 5 girls in Lackawanna County, Northeastern PA, were sexually molested by age 11.
Oh my God.
Are you familiar with cases here?
Not specifically Pennsylvania, although just north of here, I know a guy that does a lot of rescue operations and counter trafficking stuff. But, we've worked in Connecticut. We got 5 arrests in Connecticut between DC and New York City and Utah and southern Texas on the border. But we haven't operated in Philly and haven't, or in Pennsylvania. I haven't heard too much about this state yet. In that regard. Did I finish your question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would assume.
Oh, the pushback, yeah, so we had to found the nonprofit organization just to be able to have a platform or a mechanism to bring in the money to fund the documentary. And we found that by when we're filming the documentary, we had the opportunity to run the operations and actually arrest pedophiles. And so we're continuing to do that because some of them harm hundreds of children, and some of them get caught the first time, but the average is about 70 children each that they harm. It's a serial behavior. They don't tend to stop because they're wired for children. So for everyone that we arrest, theoretically, that's 70 children that aren't going to be harmed from them. So it feels pretty good to put them away. So we're continuing to do that. But yes, there's pushback. Again, you cannot advance good in this world without evil attacking you. It's just creepy and weird, but that's the way this world functions. So, yeah.
What kind of people are doing those types of crimes? Are they, who are they?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lourdes. She says, what kind of people? It's, there is no demographic. You can't choose a color or a shape or a religion or anything. This permeates all aspects, all corners of society. Sadly, predators tend to be those that were traumatized as children. So they were probably raped and beaten, and their minds shattered. Trauma. And when they grow, sadly, instead of safeguarding children, they become predators themselves, and they harm the children. A lot of them work themselves into positions of access to children, so they'll become a coach. They'll become a Sunday school teacher. They'll become maybe a policeman. Positions that we inherently respect and trust with our children, Boy Scout coach. That's where the predators are attracted to because they're like, okay, if I get this job, I'll have access to boys all day long. So those are the people, sadly, that we have to watch. We can't leave them alone with our children anymore. We have to have safeguard. Trust but verify. Keep eyes on at all times. I'm a big proponent of nanny cams. Let's just make sure the kids are okay. Because I have never been abused as a child, but I can imagine. And I just don't want it. It's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.